several conference papers and published articles in OS. Could you give us some guidelines for implementation?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Krishnamurthy. I regard implementation as a critical step which impacts the success or failure of any project. Implementation should receive as much care, resources, and focus as the planning and modeling steps. And let's clarify that I'm addressing implementation guidelines for synchronizing organizations using the ETK framework after the measurements have been made and the organization has already been assessed at a particular level of synchronization based on the respective metric that you've outlined. The first guideline I would say for implementing a plan for improving the synchronization is to look at the details in your assessment score. The metric basically can be used to analyze what needs to be done to improve the organization's level of synchronization for moving closer to world-class performers. Identify the low scores that indicate a weakness in synchronization of the ETK elements in the organization. These are the elements which may need a boost or need rethinking in terms of strategy or tactics. Next, put together an upper management team to decide which organizational functions and operations would best support the identified low performers in synchronization among the ETK aspects. The reason for putting together an upper management team together is that all organizational projects need an upper management champion if their chances of success are to be maximized. However, the actual buy-in by the organization will happen only when this initiative is owned and supported by the entire organization. The emotions of the employees at all levels and in all functional departments can be positively engaged by utilizing a cross-functional and multi-level team as the group in charge of this program. This cross-functional multi-level team should then engage in rethinking and re-strategizing on the various aspects. The idea here is to identify organizational strengths and weaknesses which feed into the ETK synchronization framework, tailored to your particular organization. The strengths should be maintained and the weaknesses addressed. This will help in writing the blueprint for improving the synchronization in your organization. For example, if T, the technology, has been identified as an element in low synchronization with the customer aspect, then maybe your organization can move towards cementing its customer relationships by sending focused promotional messages to clients every month using their buyer profile trends from your technology systems. Another very important step in implementation is a feedback loop. You should reevaluate your decisions and progress at an appropriate frequency. Progress should be shared with all stakeholders, and adjustments should be made based on lessons learned. In a nutshell, I think these guidelines would be some of the most important ones to remember in the implementation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachna. Dr. Jim Goodrich, Alliant International University is very fortunate to have you as the founding Dean of Marshall Goldsmith School of Management, otherwise MGSM, here in San Diego. You are a recognized authority on leadership excellence and coaching. I wonder if you could elucidate on the impact of leadership on organizational synchronization.
Thank you. You've presented very well the need for organizations to continually innovate and synchronize in the face of external turbulence and a very competitive global environment. This is an important message because of the fact that today most of them do not deal well with these imperatives for change. To make change happen is more than an intellectual exercise. It's critical to organizational survival. As the events of the last few weeks and months have suggested, just ticking off the necessary conditions for organizations to adapt well to the flat world or globalization is insufficient. The ETK model is very clear, it's logically exhaustive, and it shows the connections between the different ETK elements, particularly the concept of leadership under human emotion skills as part of E. But one needs to have leadership added to the concept of organizational synchronization to make ETK truly dynamic in the sense of moving people to action. In my years with Marshall Goldsmith and others, I've worked with and coached many leaders. I've given 360-degree feedback around the world to executives in many different kinds of organizations. My impression is that the ability and the effectiveness of organizations to do all these many things at once, or synchronization, is highly dependent on the power of leadership. Leadership is one's ability to influence others. This means having an impact on people and on the organizations that one leads. In many organizations, people are unaware of the need to change, or they have become cynical and complacent. Thus, when sudden tugs of turbulence jolt the organization, they're either not ready or they run around holding meetings, gathering information, which is not the same as knowledge management, and keeping themselves busy without really accomplishing anything. Good leaders are able to appeal to us on a primal level. They enable us to feel the importance of changing the organization, and they anticipate and overcome the natural complacency and resistance to change within it. They do this by going to a deeper level. Good leaders appeal to our emotions as well as to our reason. As John Cotter tells us in his new book, A Sense of Urgency, good leaders need to make a heartfelt case for change when asking people to carry out the kind of changes envisioned in organizational synchronization. They need to encourage people to commit themselves to important goals and to solving complex problems which might have no immediate or obvious solution. They need to focus people's energy not just on making the pieces fit together or incremental improvements, but on significant issues that will transform the organizations they lead. The essence of leadership is to get people to care about making these changes and aligning with our goals. Otherwise, we just get a series of laundry lists. Here's 10 more things we need to do, or empty meetings of hastily formed committees to debate the data and what it tells us. True leadership means we have to inspire our people. I appreciate the opportunity to be on this panel, to be at a management school with distinguished professors like Renee, like Rashna, like Krishna, who generate ideas and supervise our doctoral students. I invite the global community to participate in these kinds of discussions on an ongoing basis, especially in these times of increased turbulence and change.
Thank you, Dean Goodrich. Mr. Jorge Cardenas, doctoral candidate at MGSM, I commend you for taking up the cause of organizational synchronization as the main theme of your doctoral dissertation. Could you tell us briefly what you have done so far and what you hope to achieve in this pioneering research investigation?
Yes, thank you, Krishna. I'm glad to be here. I've been doing research on the ETK conceptual framework and creating the research design for an organizational synchronization field study I will conduct. After researching previous work, I've developed a great appreciation for the three basic components